How could my CEO girlfriend ever imagine that the first time I asked for leave would be for my wedding? Yet, she just paused for a second and then laughed out loud. Remember to invite me to your wedding for a celebratory drink. She was certain I was just throwing a tantrum. But when she actually received my wedding invitation, the woman who was always cold and arrogant went completely crazy. She ran red lights 108 times in a row just to stop me from getting married in time. President Wen, I would like to request leave for my wedding. My voice sounded very gentle, but my words carried an unshakable determination. The woman lounging lazily on the sofa suddenly froze. She looked up at me with a cold stare. You don't even have a girlfriend. What are you asking for wedding leave for? I just registered my marriage yesterday. My expression remained calm without a ripple. I had already made up my mind. If Wen Shu didn't approve my leave, I would just quit right then and there. Wen Shu stared at me for 2 seconds, then suddenly burst out laughing as if she had heard a joke. Who did you register with? Does Uncle Gu know about this? The atmosphere in the room became tense. A look of panic appeared on my face, but I kept my mouth shut. The marriage registration happened so hastily. I hadn't even had time to tell my father yet. Moreover, that person's identity was quite sensitive. Blurting it out impulsively could cause unnecessary trouble. I cannot disclose my wife's identity right now. I will also fully inform my father. Thank you for your concern. President Wen, my work will be handed over thoroughly. I absolutely won't let any issues arise for the company. You can rest assured. My attitude was strictly professional. A fire of rage flared up in Wen Shu's heart, but she tried to suppress it. She looked at me with a fake smile. Who in our circle doesn't know about our relationship? Could you have come up with a worse excuse? Silence met her response. The smile on Wen Shu's face slowly faded. Now she was almost certain that this drama I was putting on today, it was just because I was unhappy. She picked up Luke Sechin and forgot my birthday. I was just playing hard to get out of spite. A bed warmer she had kept by her side for over 10 years. If it were before, she certainly would have patiently comforted me. But the current Wen Shu was wholeheartedly focused on Lu Shichen, who had just returned to the country. She had no time to care about an old lover. She waved her hand impatiently, saying indifferently, "Whatever, when the time comes, remember to invite me for a celebratory drink." She was sure I was lying. The sarcasm in her voice practically spilled over. As soon as she finished, she kicked me out of the office. I stumbled 2 steps forward, head bowed low, hiding the emotions on my face. Just then, Lu Shichen arrived at the company to discuss cooperation. As he passed by me, he scanned me with an arrogant look, as if looking at a pile of trash. Go make me a cup of coffee. President Wen and I have important matters to discuss. On the surface, I was just the CEO's assistant, but in reality, my status in the company was practically second in command. Aside from Wen Shu, no one had ever dared to speak to me like that. But now, Lu Shichen had the leverage to act like a fox exploiting the tiger's might. My fists clenched tight. Almost everyone thought I wouldn't be able to endure it anymore, but I silently turned and walked towards the pantry. There wasn't a soul in the pantry. Only the sound of the coffee machine whirring filled the air. My turbulent mood gradually calmed down. Memories of the past slowly surfaced in my mind. Wen Shu's personality had never been good. Growing up, I was the only one who could tolerate her. I was the son of the Wen family's driver. After my mother passed away, I was adopted by the kind Mr. Wen, living with Wen Shu, who was born with a silver spoon in her mouth, called an adopted son. But in reality, I was just a playmate. Mr. Wen found for his daughter. The Wen family never let me want for food or clothing, and my father constantly reminded me that I must serve the young miss well. So, I was completely obedient to Wen Shu, becoming the most loyal dog by her side. Everyone mocked me as a sycophant, but I didn't care, because Wen Shu represented favored love, an arrogant and haughty heiress, both beautiful and noble. Plus, we grew up together. Falling in love with her was the simplest thing in the world, but the deep insecurity in my heart prevented me from ever daring to cross the line, until later, when Mr. Wen passed away. On his deathbed, he made me promise to protect her for 10 years. The Wen family's company was on the verge of bankruptcy. Wen Shu cried miserably in my arms, her voice choked with sobs. Huai Chuan, I only have you left now. You can't abandon me. That night, the drunk woman wrapped her arms around my neck, calling my name endlessly beneath me. In that moment, I couldn't hide my feelings any longer. By day, I desperately courted investors. By night, I willingly served Wen Shu at home. Even when the company was at its worst, I would rather sell my blood than let the woman I loved lower her standard of living. Touching my arm riddled with needle marks, Wen Shu cried and said, I will always have a place for you in my heart. I thought that was enough. I became the secret lover she couldn't acknowledge publicly, doing everything couples do, but never being made public until a few days before my birthday. Wen Shu offered to make our relationship public. I was so excited I couldn't sleep all night. I ordered a proposal ring worth over 10 million that very night and arranged for people to set up the proposal venue. But I waited at the venue for a whole day and night, only to hear news of Lu Xichen's return and that Wen Shu personally went to pick him up. In the photos, they hugged affectionately, the smile on her face, like she had found a treasure. It hurt me so much, I could barely breathe. It was like someone dumped a bucket of ice water over my head. All my illusions and joy vanished into thin air, until I returned to the Wen house, dazed and soulless, and accidentally overheard a conversation in the study. Shu Yi, you've kept Gu Wai Chuan dangling all these years, making him willing to serve you, and bowed down to the Wen group with utter devotion. Your tactics are truly masterful. Impressive? Truly impressive. HMPH. He's just a driver's son. Giving him a meal to eat is already charity. Wen Shu retained that arrogant and haughty look of hers. She leaned back on the sofa, head held high, narrowing her eyes. She said indifferently, he's just a bed warmer. I've been bored of him for a long time. If you like him, I'll give him to you. Want him? Mocking laughter rang out through the house. The voice I usually loved the most now turned into sharp knives, stabbing deep into my heart and tearing the flesh right out. It hurt so much my whole body trembled. I used to think I just wasn't excellent enough, not worthy enough to be seen in public. Now I realized that Wen Shou's heart had never been open to me. At most, I was just a bed warmer, the kind you throw away after using. After thinking everything through, for the first time in my life, I skipped work without notice, wandering the streets aimlessly, then accidentally getting hit by a car. When the intense pain hit, I even thought it would be good if I could just die. Like this. When I woke up, there was a young woman beside me, resting her face on my hospital bed rail. Her small, rounded white shoulders were half exposed. Her serene side profile, illuminated by the sunset, looked even more gentle. Hearing me move, the woman lifted her head. Her eyes, clear as autumn water, suddenly met mine. She anxiously stepped forward to touch my forehead. How do you feel? A faint scent of orchids reached my nose, subtle and fleeting. My Adam's apple bobbed unconsciously. I immediately turned my head aside, unused to such intimate touch. I am fine. It's just a superficial wound. The woman politely withdrew her hand. She lowered her head, tucking her hair, her silky black hair, with her movement, brushed lightly against my hand. My palm felt a bit itchy, and my heart fluttered slightly. She said her name was Song Shiwen to express her apology. She offered to unconditionally grant me one request. Looking at her gentle and elegant face, an image suddenly flashed in my mind. Last year, Wen Shu got drunk late at night because her childhood sweetheart went abroad. She tore a photo of a woman into pieces, hatred practically spilling from her eyes. Song Shiyuan, you vile bitch. Why must you fight me for my brother Xichen? It's all your fault. That brother Xichen left me. I hate you. The elegant, refined face of the girl in the photo matched the woman beside me perfectly. Perhaps my remaining pride spurred me on. As if possessed, I opened my mouth and asked Song Shiyuan to marry me. I regretted it the moment the words left my lips. After all, this request was way too sudden, and I worried I would scare her. I rushed to take it back, but Song Shiyuan's eyes lit up, and she nodded in agreement immediately. Her eyes and brows filled with joy. What a coincidence. My family keeps pushing me to get married. I was worried I couldn't find a partner, as if of one mind. We quickly went to register our marriage, until I held the red marriage certificate in my hand. I was still in a daze. In the photo, Song Shiyuan smiled happily, as if the man beside her was a boyfriend she had loved deeply for years. Who would have thought? We were strangers meeting for the first time. Seeing her put the marriage certificate in her like a treasure, my heart was a mix of bitter and sour emotions. Confused, regretful, yet secretly thrilled. I really wanted to see the proud Wen Shu. If she knew that, the man she thought was unpresentable had married the white moonlight Lu Zichen failed to chase for years, how wonderful her expression would be then, the next day at work. As soon as I walked in the door, I saw Lu Zichen sitting, majestically, in the CEO's office, compared to 10 years ago. Lu Zichen had become more mature and handsome. His actor-like looks stood out in the crowd, perfectly matching Wen Shu's taste. His hand was placed intimately on Wen Shu's waist, moving restlessly. The woman smiled shyly, her face full of sweetness. They were intimate as if no one else was around, as if I didn't exist. Even at an angle Wen Shu couldn't see. Lu Zichen gave me a provocative look, showing off. Through the glass door, I saw my own emotionless face. If it were before, I would certainly have been heartbroken, but now I only felt lucky. Lucky that my heart was completely dead. So, even seeing her and Lu Zichen canoodling with my own eyes, I only felt numb inside. A while later, the panting subsided. Wen Shu, with a flushed face, looked up. She tipped her chin at me, saying, "Brother Xichen just returned. I am preparing a welcome party for him at the Wen Villa. You go take care of this." I lowered my eyes, wanting to refuse. Immediately. Recently, the Wen Group had a major project in a critical phase. The whole company was incredibly busy. I really couldn't spare the time. After considering for a moment, I nervously spoke up. "The company is short-handed. Young Master Lust Matter can wait until after work." Crash. Before I could finish, I was rudely interrupted. Wen Shu threw the teacup in her hand straight at me. It shattered on the floor. Flying shards cut my finger. She had lost all patience, her eyes full of contempt and rage. "What are you? Just a petty CEO assistant. Do you really think the company can't function without you?" Lu Zichen crossed his arms, raising an eyebrow, enjoying the show, his tone pretending to be magnanimous. "That's enough. Shu Yi. Assistant Giyu, if it's inconvenient. I don't want to force anyone. After all, I heard her back then. It's normal for him to have an issue with me. A sharp pain shot through my fingertip. I frowned unconsciously. I hadn't said anything, but Lu Xichin acted like I was bullying him. What was this about? A look of pity immediately appeared on Wen Shu's face. Her voice raised several notches, pointing at my nose and scolding. If my father hadn't been kind enough to adopt you, who knows where you'd be begging now? Now that my father is gone, I can't order you around anymore. Is that it? Nothing matters more to me than brother Xichen. Dare say another word, and you can take your crippled father and get the hell out of here together. The Wen family doesn't raise useless freeloaders. I abruptly lifted my head, looking at her in disbelief, cold to the extreme. I always thought 10 years of companionship could earn a bit of sincerity, but the truth proved that Wen Shu would only, time and again, stab the knife where it hurt the most. Clearly, my father was disabled, saving Mr. Wen back. Then, that's how he became disabled, but she used it to humiliate him. In the spacious, empty office, Wen Shu's shouting echoed. When she saw the redness in the corners of my eyes, a hint of guilt appeared on Wen Shu's face. Feeling inexplicably flustered, she knew she had been too harsh, but because Lu Xichin was watching, she couldn't lower her pride to apologize. I gritted my teeth. Then, Mr. Wen's dying wish appeared in my mind again, for himself. A man who once shook the business world, lying on his deathbed, skin and bones. The only thing he couldn't let go of was his only daughter, Huai Chuan. Promise me, no matter what happens in the next 10 years, you must protect Shu Yi for me. All right, I promise you. Father Wen used a 10-year promise to pave a smooth path for his daughter, allowing her to mature until she was strong enough. The price was sacrifice. The anger in my heart was once again suppressed by reason. I closed my eyes and forced out through my teeth, "I'll handle it right away." Ending a busy day of work, I lay exhausted on my bed. Suddenly, I received a video call from Song Shiyuan. The woman was smiling radiantly, excitedly showing off the wedding dress she was wearing. "Honey, does this look good?" Only then did I realize that I had forgotten our appointment to try on wedding dresses today. Seeing the smile on the little girl's face without a hint of anger, regret nearly swallowed me whole. "I'm sorry, I really couldn't spare the time today." Song Shiyuan shook her head and said understandingly, "It's okay. I am fine by myself." Even so, I still caught a glimpse of disappointment in her eyes. I clearly saw my own panic. An indescribable pity welled up from the bottom of my heart. Hurting so much, I was confused about what to do. Aside from Wen Shu, this was the first time I felt this way about another woman. After thinking for a moment, I asked carefully, "Are you free tomorrow evening? I'll go with you to choose a wedding dress again." Song Shiyuan suddenly looked up, her eyes instantly regaining their light. A gentle smile bloomed on her lips. "I am free." As soon as I hung up, the door was kicked open violently. Wen Shu stormed in, staring at me coldly, demanding, "Who are you going to choose wedding dresses with?" I stood up, used to her rude behavior, and answered emotionlessly, "My wife." Wen Shu's face darkened immediately. She was certain I was tricking her. Years of being together made her understand well that Gu Huaichuan valued feelings deeply. She didn't want to, nor would she believe that I could let her go. She looked the man in front of her up and down, snorted coldly, "You followed me all these years. I've never seen another woman by your side, besides, who would be crazy enough to marry a driver's son." I gritted my teeth and said nothing, my whole body tense. An indescribable sense of humiliation spread through me. Seeing me like that, Wen Shu just thought I was acting guilty, even more certain of her judgment, having no energy left to argue. I stayed silent for the next few days. The Wen Villa hosted the welcome party. Almost all the prominent figures in the circle attended. Wen Shu and Lu Xichin grew up together. They were a match made in heaven. The couple everyone expected to be together. That year, when Lu Xichin went to study abroad, many people regretted it. So much so that when I appeared, with a face 50% similar to Lu Xichin's, everyone mocked me as Lu Xichin's replacement. Now that the original had returned, those people started prying curiously again. Truly shameless. The real deal is back, and the fake still hasn't scrambled. Ungrateful wretch. If Shuyi wasn't so kind, the driver's son would have no right to appear before us. I heard he even has the nerve to compete with young Master Lu. Disgusting. These words were as acerbic as usual. I was used to hearing them. Wen Shu's friends never looked at me normally, always cursing me, saying I relied only on my face to have a place in the Wen group. But what they didn't know was, last year, when the Wen group was on the verge of bankruptcy, it was this good-for-nothing man who bore immense pressure, ruthlessly exposing the parasites within the Wen group, changing marketing strategies, drinking until he had gastric bleeding to secure one investment after another, pulling the Wen group through that stormy year, step by step back to the peak. It could be said that without me, there would be no Wen group today. Ironically, no one remembered my contributions. In their eyes, I was forever just a driver's son, a poor wretch with a life cheap as grass. Just then, Song Shiyuan called. Her tone was gentle as always. When will you be done over there? I'll come pick you up. About another half hour. Okay. There was joy in her voice that was hard to hide. Her happy voice made me smile contentedly. Cheers erupted behind me. Two people, surrounded like stars, walked slowly this way. Wen Shu, in a long white dress, her makeup light and exquisite, so beautiful it garnered endless praise. Those big, beautiful eyes stared unblinkingly at Lu Xichen, as if in the vast world he was the only one in her eyes. This sweet and beautiful scene made everyone present unconsciously hold their breath. The next second, a sudden bark rang out, accompanied by the surprised scream of a maid. A chubby corgi, nimble darted through the crowded room and ran straight into my arms, causing screams along the way. A tray in a waiter's hand slipped, splashing wine straight into Lu Xichen's face, turning his perfectly styled hair into a mess. He looked as disheveled as a drowned rat. Gu Waichuan, you did this on purpose, didn't you? Lu Xichen's face was black as the bottom of a pot, distorted with anger. Even if you're unhappy about my return, you didn't have to stage this to humiliate me. Why are you so scheming? I didn't react in time, unconsciously hugging the trembling corgi tight. This dog was a stray Wen Shu, and I adopted together. In that cold, heartless old villa, it was almost my only comfort. At first, the little dog was just skin and bones, not very friendly. Later, we raised it to be fat and round. Its personality was also very cute. Its jiggly butt made Wen Shu adore it endlessly. When our relationship was at its best, Wen Shu even joked, "Tuanzi is like our child." Back then, I really thought Wen Shu and I had a future. I was just about to open my mouth to explain when my face was slapped hard. The force was so strong my ears immediately started ringing. Wen Shu's voice, cold as ice, rang out sharply in my ears. "Throw this ignorant animal into the water tank." She wanted to kill Tuanzi. In this moment, I truly realized just how cruel the woman I had loved for 10 years could be. Just because it ruined a reception party, Wen Shu was cruel enough to want Tuanzi to drown in the water. Perhaps sensing a threat to its life, Tuanzi desperately burrowed into my arms. The onlookers, enjoying the drama, all rushed forward to hold down my limbs, snatching Tuanzi from my hands. "Don't touch him." The desperate man was pinned to the ground, his eyes bloodshot, his expression on the verge of collapse. Seeing his rival in such a wretched state, Lu Xichen felt immensely satisfied inside. His eyes rolled around, revealing a playful expression. He grabbed the little dog by the scruff of its neck, saying maliciously, "You want to save it? Then get on your knees and beg me." The provocative intent filled his words, making the whole hall buzz with excitement. Countless eyes stared straight at me. My whole body tensed up, the cuts from glass shards on my hand stinging even more. The physical pain couldn't compare to the psychological humiliation. I lifted my head, looking pleadingly at Wen Shu for the first time. But she only looked down from above, without a trace of warmth in her eyes. Her words were like the sharpest sword in the world. Those who do wrong must be punished. The last thread of tension inside me finally snapped. I closed my eyes, accepting my fate. Amidst the roaring cheers of the crowd, I trembled, slowly bending my knees. The moment my knees hit the floor, everyone around gasped in shock. How could they have imagined I would actually kneel to someone else for a dog? Even Wen Shu opened her eyes wide in surprise, looking at the disheveled man in disbelief. With a look of disgust, she said, "How can your knees be so weak? Gu Huaichuan, do you have any pride left?" The man acted as if he were deaf, stubbornly kneeling there. His clothes were disheveled, his face printed with a bright red handprint. His entire being was shrouded in thick sorrow and despair. My dignity was being trampled underfoot, my back hunched over. In the pleading eyes I cast towards Lu Xichen, there was still a shred of hope left. "I admit my fault. I instigated everything. I just beg you to spare Tuanzi." I could barely speak a complete sentence, every word seeming to use up all my strength. Seeing me like this, Wen Shu's heart ached slightly without her noticing, but it was just for a moment. A second later, she quickly returned to being calm. Lu Xichen laughed arrogantly. My kneeling immensely satisfied his sick, competitive streak. He wondered if there was anything in the world more pleasurable than forcing a rival to kneel and apologize. Moreover, the person kneeling was the one everyone considered the most resilient. But even so, Lu Xichen had absolutely no intention of releasing the dog in his hand. A strange smile curled on his lips as he squeezed the dog's neck with force. Tuanzi struggled desperately in his grip, its whimpers becoming shorter and shorter. It was clearly being strangled to the point of suffocation. My heart felt like it was splitting open. I went crazy and lunged towards Lu Xichen, but I was held back tightly by Wen Shu's bodyguards. Two hands couldn't fight four. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get even a bit closer. I could only watch helplessly as he was tortured to death. "Lu Xichen, you bastard. Stop it," I screamed, until my voice went hoarse, my voice mixed with surging despair and rage. My bloodshot eyes looked ready to kill. But Lu Xichen only squeezed harder, smiling as he admired the man's despair. He felt ecstatic inside. The little dog's breathing grew weaker and weaker, and its tail drooped down. I turned my head to look at Wen Shu. I couldn't understand. Why? She was clearly a woman who loved Tuanzi before. I watched wide-eyed as he was strangled to death by someone else, just because the person who wanted to kill Tuanzi was Lu Xichen. Tuanzi was clearly so well-behaved. Facing my blood-red eyes, the little dog used its last bit of strength to let out a whimper. The next second, it was thrown violently to the ground. Blood gushed out. It twitched twice, then closed its eyes forever. A sharp, intense pain struck my heart. I went completely mad. Tuenzi. Looking at the little dog lying limp on the ground, my emotions collapsed, like a dam bursting, instantly piercing the last psychological defense wall in my heart. I stumbled towards Tuanzi's body, trembling hands scooping him up into my arms, a man over 6 feet tall holding a dog, kneeling on the ground, his whole body radiating sorrow. Wenshu didn't feel comfortable either. She didn't think Tuanzi was that important to me. Now seeing my utter agony, she felt inexplicably choked up. It's just a dog. Is this necessary? At worst, I'll buy you another one. She self-righteously offered compensation, her voice becoming firmer as she spoke. This was your fault to begin with. Brother Ixichin just wanted to teach you a lesson. Her close friends also stood by her side, mocking coldly. Exactly. Gu Huaichuan. It's just a dead dog. Are you still trying to push your luck? After all, you and your father both depend on the Wen family to survive. Your dog made young Master Lu unhappy. It deserved to die. The incessant flattery made Lu Saichen's expression even more smug. He raised his foot and kicked hard at my kneeling back, sending my head smashing into the marble floor. Blood immediately streamed down. But even so, I still shielded Tuanzi in my arms with my life. So annoying. Why don't you hurry and take this dead dog out? As soon as the words fell, in a moment when no one could react in time, I quickly spun around, delivering a clean punch to Lu Xichen's face. A soft crack of bone was heard. A sharp cry of pain escaped Lu Xichen's mouth as he clutched his broken nose, screaming incessantly. Amidst the screams echoing through the hall, I slowly raised my head. Fresh blood flowed from my forehead down my nose, dyeing half my face red. But I didn't care at all. My eyes held only a desolate silence. Lu Xichen. As long as I live for even one more day, I will definitely make you pay blood for blood. When I said these words, my tone was almost calm. Yet Lu Xichen felt an inexplicable chill run down his spine as if he were being targeted by a tiger in the wild. Brother Xichen. Wenshu panicked and rushed over to check Lu Saichen's condition. She raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face, screaming at the top of her lungs. Get out. Get the hell out of the Wen house. A self-deprecating smile rose on my lips. My gaze fell upon Wenshu's face, distorted by anger. For the first time in my life, I couldn't feel a shred of attachment or reluctance. Those feelings seemed to have been ground to dust, along with Tuanzi's death. I suddenly laughed out loud, feeling unworthy for myself. Enduring the strange looks of others, I numbly turned around, carefully holding Tuanzi as I left that place. I drove 100 kilometers away, scattering Tuanzi's ashes into the sea. The night sea breeze was very cold, numbing the nerves. Song Shiwen looked at the grief-stricken man before her, standing alone on the rock. The sorrow weighing on him was so heavy, it made her heart constrict as well. Without thinking, she hugged me tightly from behind, trying to convey her comfort through her body heat. Don't be sad. I am always by your side. Tuenzi is watching from heaven. He wouldn't want to see you like this. You have to pull yourself together. Simple words, yet they made my tears flow. I turned around, hugging the woman beside me tightly, burying my head in her neck. The calming scent of orchids enveloped me, instantly filling my tattered heart. The next day at the company, Wen Shu found out I had submitted my resignation to HR. She was furious on the spot, scolded everyone harshly, and then called me. As soon as the call connected, Wen Shu shouted loudly, Gu Huaichuan, are you addicted to pretending to get married? My patience has limits. I order you right now. Hurry up and roll back to the Wen house. Otherwise, even if you kneel and beg me later, I will absolutely not give you a second chance to admit your mistake. The other end of the line sighed. My answer was extremely calm. I have already resigned. President Wen has no right to interfere with my staying or leaving. Who gave you permission to resign? Wen Shu was so angry her temples throbbed. Gu Huaichuan. Don't forget, you promised me with your own mouth back then that you would take care of me for 10 years before leaving. Now the time isn't up yet. I demand you continue working at the Wen Group. If we really have to be so calculating, the time until old man Wen's death anniversary was indeed less than a month away. I couldn't understand why Wen Shu was making such a fuss. Was it simply because she wanted to keep me? But she clearly used to hate having me around her the most, always finding ways to humiliate me, belittling and suppressing me everywhere. Narrowing my eyes, a deep sense of disgust and exhaustion rose within me, but I was helpless. 1 month limit. After 1 month, I will officially leave the Wen Group. I hope by then, President Wen won't use other reasons to force me to stay. Hanging up the phone, Wen Shu felt an inexplicable emptiness inside. She just felt like something was about to slip out of her control. Wen Shu's heart suddenly felt hollow, but the pride in her bones stopped her from seeking the reason. Since I couldn't quit immediately, I started preparing to move out. Anything in the room related to Wen Shu, I threw it all out. I only took a small portion of daily necessities. After packing everything, I was startled to realize that my belongings from all those years at the Wen house didn't even fill half a suitcase. This was the room I had lived in for over 10 years. I gently closed the door, turning around to face Wen Shu's probing gaze. Her eyes were cold as frost, filled with extreme disgust. Have I ever told you? Stop playing these petty tricks. Don't tell me that. You're dragging a suitcase to move out of the Wen house. To live with your newlywed wife? I understood her sarcasm. I nodded seriously, my tone calm. That's right, the wedding will be held in a month. You and young Master Lu are welcome to attend. Seeing me so resolute, Wen Shu almost wanted to applaud my superb lying skills. She was just about to expose me when the butler interrupted, informing her to go to the hospital to visit Lu Xichin and that the car was ready. She immediately threw me to the back of her mind, only coldly tossing back, "I am warning you for the last time. Stop these useless antics. I don't fall for that." Watching her figure leave without any hesitation, I laughed silently. Wen Shu, I have never lied to you. I am really getting married. This time, I will never look back. As the last word fell, I left the Wen villa without turning my head. I got into the car with Song Shiwan, who had been waiting at the gate. I took Song Shiwan to try on wedding dresses. We had booked a nationally famous wedding dress designer, a one-on-one custom design session. Song Shiwan was surprised and delighted, excitedly discussing with the designer about her dream wedding dress style. I smiled, watching her, a wave of warmth rising in my heart. I walked around the bridal shop alone. Just as I went downstairs, I heard a familiar voice coming from below. Shu Yi, a wedding dress is only used once. Just pick any random one. Why waste money on custom made? But a wedding is once in a lifetime. I want to be radiantly beautiful when I marry you. Lu Xichin's face was full of impatience and stinginess. Only when Wen Shu offered to pay for it herself did his expression change from gloomy to bright. Wen Shu, who was so domineering in front of me, humbled herself to the dust before Lu Xichin. Seeing me, Wen Shu was startled at first, then her tone changed abruptly. "Why are you here?" Her tone held a clear questioning intent, thinking I was stalking them. "President Wen, you misunderstand. I came here to help my wife choose a wedding dress. Choose here? With your salary? Can you afford it?" "No." Lu Xichin sneered. He completely failed to realize how despicable his refusal to spend money on his partner was, or how low it was. Wen Shu looked even more disbelieving. "Since you insist you're here to choose a wedding dress, then may I ask, where is your wife?" I pursed my lips and said nothing. I didn't want these two people to ruin Song Shiwen's good mood. I had already broken my promise twice. If I ruin it again this time, I wouldn't dare face such disappointed eyes. Seeing my silence, Wen Shu felt inexplicably relieved. But right at this moment, a shop assistant came up to inform me that Song Shiwan had chosen a few styles and wanted me to go up and help choose. Wen Shu's heart leapt to her throat. She couldn't believe that I was actually choosing a wedding dress with someone else. But the next second, she quickly denied the speculation in her heart. If I were really getting married, why wouldn't I even say the woman's name? She assumed this woman was just an actor I hired to put on a show, with the sole purpose of making her jealous and lose her composure. Thinking this, Wen Shu's expression returned to normal. Her bitter lips curled up slightly. "Assistant Gu, better hurry upstairs. Don't let your bride wait too long. If you don't have enough money, just ask me for a loan. After all, you've followed me for over 10 years. I am willing to lend you this amount." Her tone was disdainful and sarcastic, bitter to the extreme, but I just glanced at her coldly, calmly said thanks. Wen Shu suddenly had the feeling of punching cotton, frustrated but unable to speak. But before she could say anything, Lu Xichin started yelling that his nose hurt. She immediately panicked, helping him towards the door. On the second-floor corridor, Song Shiyuan poked her head out, wearing a thin veil. Her delicate, gentle face was full of smiles, urgently telling me to come upstairs. Wen Shu only had time for a hurried glance before stepping out the door. But this blurry glimpse made her inexplicably anxious. Why did that woman feel so familiar? My wedding was held as scheduled. That day was also Old Man Wen's memorial service. Just after lighting incense, Wen Shu received my resignation letter, along with a wedding invitation. She called me but found she was blocked. She went crazy, dragging Lu Xichin into the car on the spot, racing straight to the wedding venue, running over 10 red lights along the way. Countless memories flashed through her mind, every single incident featuring my face. With a screeching halt, Wen Shu got out of the car, trembling. Impossible. He's definitely found someone to act with him again, playing hard to get. The goal is to make me jealous. I have to go ask him. None of this is real. Wen Shu, blinded by rage, felt the possession that was once in her hands suddenly slip away, no longer under her control. She felt an unprecedented uneasiness, yet she never realized I was much more important to her than she imagined. Tearfully, she ran to the wedding venue, followed by a gloomy-faced Lu Xichin. The wedding was about to start. Wen Shu and Lu Xichin, dressed in mourning clothes, appeared abruptly at this moment. Pushing through the joyous crowd, they heard the MC reading the opening remarks. Today, Mr. Gu Huaichuan and MS Song Shiyuan are united in marriage. Wen Shu's mind exploded with a boom. What? The woman he wants to marry is Song Shiyuan. How can it be Song Shiyuan? She was dizzy with shock, her eyes frantically scanning everyone present. Seeing me rush over, her face was full of disbelief. She wanted to ask clearly, if the bride was truly her mortal enemy, Song Shiyuan, then my marriage was not a joke. I hadn't hired anyone to act. I was really getting married. Gasps of surprise erupted all around. Lu Xichin, who followed Wen Shu, was also stunned. The bride is Song Shiyuan? How come I Didn't hear any news? It must be fake. People around were buzzing with gossip. The noble and elegant eldest miss of the Song family, Song Shiyuan. How could it be him? Surely it's just the same name. Right. Song Shiyuan is young master Lus White Moonlight. She didn't even like young master Lu, so how could she marry a driver's son? Hearing these words, Wen Shu's heart settled a bit. Lu Xichin glared fiercely at the guy who just mentioned his name. Head settle the score with those mocking him later. Wen Shu could only convince herself that it was definitely just a coincidence of names. The actor's name just happened to be Song Shiyuan. She strengthened her resolve, raised her chin high, and restored her previous arrogant attitude. She ordered me, standing opposite her. Your ridiculous charade can end now. Follow me back now. Kneel and apologize to me in front of everyone, and I will pretend today never happened. The Wen group still has a position for you. I looked at her coldly. There was none of the deep affection of the past in my expression, and my tone was completely flat. Wen Shu, today is my big wedding day. I will not go with you. Wen Shu was just about to open her mouth to expose my lie, when the next second, a clear female voice came from not far away. Why does this Song Shiyuan's husband have to kneel and apologize to you? The closed doors slowly opened. A familiar figure stood in the doorway. The gaze fell upon a pure white wedding dress, and looking up, a familiar face. It's really you. Melodious violin music played. Song Shiyuan, wearing the white wedding dress, was breathtakingly beautiful. We interlaced our fingers tightly. The moment the arrival's face was clearly seen, the whole hall went silent. How can this be? The first to explode was Lu Xichin. His pupils contracted violently, staring in disbelief at the white moonlight he had loved deeply for years, appearing before his eyes, constantly calling me husband. This time, it was Lu Xichin's turn to collapse. Shiyuan, what nonsense are you talking about? This poor wretch. How can he be your husband? As soon as he finished, he put on a fawning smile. When did you return to the country? Why didn't you tell me? Back then, after Song Shiyuan went abroad, he insisted on following her abroad. But not only was Song Shiyuan unmoved, she immediately drew a line with him. All these years abroad, he had always only longed for her. If it weren't for the problems with his family's business, and the urgent need for a large amount of cash flow, he absolutely wouldn't have returned so easily to pursue Wen Shu. In Lu Xichin's heart, Wen Shu is just a tool he uses for profit. Song Shiyuan is the one he has always held in his heart. Unfortunately, Song Shiyuan doesn't care about his words at all. She is only wholeheartedly worried about me. Heaven knows, when she saw me being threatened and humiliated by others, how much she regretted not arriving sooner. She didn't dare to imagine, now that right in front of her, they dared to humiliate me like this, then how much suffering I must have endured in the past. Thinking of this, Song Shiyuan's face, usually wearing a smile, immediately turned gloomy. She shot a sharp look at Lu Xichin. Her tone was not polite at all. Who do you think you are? Do I need your permission to return to the country? Also, please show some respect to my husband. In my eyes, he is, compared to the likes of you who only rely on status and position, and look down on everyone. This kind of idiot, 1,000 times better. Lu Xichin's face turned green then pale. He felt humiliated to the extreme, being told by his white moonlight in front of everyone that he wasn't even as good as a worthless piece of trash. This was more unbearable than killing him. He was so angry, his chest heaved, clutching his chest. Brother Xichin. Wen Shu screamed, panicked. She called for people to dial 120. Song Shiyuan didn't even give her a glance. She pulled me directly, intending to leave, but was blocked by a furious Wen Shu. Wen Shu had hated Song Shiyuan to the core for years, hated her for stealing her white moonlight, making her wait bitterly in the country for Lu Xichin all those years. What made her even more furious was that I dared to betray her to marry Song Shiyuan. To be honest, the Song family is a giant shark in the business world, dominating the industry for years. Song Shiyuan, as the only daughter of the Song family, has been infinitely glorious since childhood, suppressing her everywhere. How could she have imagined that Song Shiyuan would like me? This piece of trash, the man she didn't even regard as anything. Unexpectedly, these past few days, my unusual behavior, saying every day that I am married, that I have a wife. She just felt her head aching as if it would explode. An unprecedented panic spread throughout her body, even overwhelming her love for Lu Xichin in front of everyone. Wen Shu's body moved faster than her brain. She grabbed my tie with one hand, pulling me towards her, her tone full of possessiveness. You are my personal assistant. Without my permission, how can you casually marry another woman? I do not agree. As soon as these words came out, Song Shiyuan's anger was finally ignited. She gave a cold snort. Her eyes gradually froze over, ready to tear down this facade. Miss Wen, you are just Huai Chuan's boss. What right do you have to decide his marriage partner? Don't tell me you're eating from the bowl while eyeing the pot. Everyone present gasped. Everyone in the circle knew. I followed Wen Shu for over 10 years. Our ambiguous romantic relationship was also known to everyone. This time, Lu Xichin suddenly returned to the country. Everyone was watching to see me become a joke, laughing at me for being the stupidest sycophant, working like a slave for the Wen group for free all these years, ending up with no status or title, thinking I wouldn't even be able to keep my career. But now they discovered that I had long since climbed onto another high branch, and in turn, slapped Wen Shu hard across the face. Wen Shu naturally knew she had no right, but all of this was truly too sudden. She couldn't accept that her backup had betrayed her, and even less could she accept that my marriage partner was her longtime rival, Song Shiwen. Wen Shu was so angry her temples throbbed. Her fingers gripped the man's tie tightly, refusing to let go. She started playing the emotional card again. Gu Huaichuan. I really didn't expect that our Wen family raised an ungrateful wretch like you. In the beginning, if my father hadn't pitied you and taken in you and your father, how could you live such a good life as you do now? Or were those words you said at my father's deathbed all lies? She self-righteously criticized me, cursing me as a heartless beast, an ungrateful and treacherous person, not remembering in the slightest that in the beginning, it was clearly just me alone. When the Wen family was in trouble, who shouldered the company alone through the storms, devoting myself completely for years, sacrificing my own future, staying by her side, working as an obscure little assistant, President Wen. You must be joking. For the past 10 years, I have never forgotten my promise, always working with all my heart for the company, never slacking off for a single day. Today is the last day of the 10-year promise, according to our agreement. I am no longer your personal assistant, and you have no right to interfere in my marriage. The man looked cold, prying open her hand that was grabbing his tie, finger by finger, pronouncing each word. I, Gu Huachuan, starting from today, officially resigned from the Wen Group. From now on, I have nothing to do with the Wen Group. His expression was calm as he said this, as if in the eyes of outsiders. The immense wealth of the Wen Group was nothing but passing clouds. Hearing me speak so decisively, these cruel words drawing a line, Wen Shu suddenly felt empty inside. She had never thought that one day I, who always obeyed her in everything, would, because of another woman, stand on the opposite side of her. This realization froze the blood in her entire body. Her heart felt empty, detached from reality, panicking like a headless chicken. Wen Shu uncontrollably screamed out, Gu Huaichuan, don't you regret this? I lowered my head and chuckled softly, firmly holding Song Shiwen's hand. President Wen, you're joking again. Before, I was the one who didn't understand things, mistaking rotten wood for a pearl. Now, I just want to quickly make it up to my wife. The words my wife deeply pierced Wen Shu's heart. She was in so much pain she could barely breathe, but her long-standing pride made her refuse to show any weakness at this moment. The atmosphere instantly became tense with swords drawn. The Song family bodyguards had been waiting on the side, just waiting for Song Shiyuan's order to throw all these eyesores out of the wedding venue. Although extremely displeased inside, Song Shiyuan still gave her husband enough face, asking for my opinion with her eyes. Looking at Wen Shu's unreasonable persistence, I felt nothing but extreme disgust, but my good upbringing still restrained the anger in my heart. Thinking that today was the anniversary of the Wen family's death, I still saved a bit of face for Wen Shu. Out of respect for Mr. Wen, let's end today's nonsense here. Today is my and Shiyuan's wedding. If you want to stay for the ceremony, I will save a seat for you. My thoughtful and polite words caught the attention of everyone present. Song Shiyuan also showed a look of praise and adoration. Her husband was truly a respectable man who valued relationships. Unexpectedly, Wen Shu didn't appreciate it one bit. She stared gloomily at me for a while. The latter remained calm, with no trace of the lingering love from before in his eyes. Her heart uncontrollably ached violently, accompanied by a suppressed flame of anger, rushing to her temples, throbbing continuously, until Lu Ixaichen's bodyguard whispered a few words in her ear. Wen Shu's expression suddenly changed completely. She immediately rushed to take the unconscious Lu Xichen, leaving the scene. After the crowd watching the drama dispersed, in the waiting room, only the newlyweds remained. I was full of apologies, with heavy regret and remorse on my face. I'm sorry, Shiyuan. Today's incident was due to my lack of consideration. I thought Wen Shu would absolutely not cause a scene today. I specifically chose the anniversary of Mr. Wen's death. In previous years on this day, no matter what happened, Wen Shu would never leave the Wen villa even for a step. I just don't know why. This year was different. This isn't your fault. Song Shiwen smiled and shook her head, her eyes gentle yet firm. You are my husband. A husband and wife are meant to rely on each other. You don't need to apologize to me, whether it's today's incident or future difficulties we may face. I will always be by your side, working together with you to face them. She spoke naturally and full of confidence. Her words seemed to have a magic that made people feel at ease. The waiting room window wasn't tightly closed. The early autumn north wind sneaked in, filling the trouser legs of my suit, making one shiver. But my heart was unprecedentedly warm. I was staring blankly at Song Shiwan, thoughts surging like waves. Many words stuck in my throat, wanting to speak but not knowing where to start, finally turning into a choked, "Thank you." No need for thanks. Song Shiwan reached out her hand, gently rubbing the slightly red corner of my eye, then touching my lips, tracing all the way down, finally stopping at my sensitive Adam's apple, and stopping there. I felt my senses magnified countless times. Along with a woman's movements, a wave of heat rushed straight to my lower abdomen. The tips of my ears instantly turned red. Seeing my embarrassment, Song Shiyuan felt the urge to tease someone for the first time in her life. She slowly moved her hand down, standing on tiptoe to embrace my neck, suddenly closing the distance between us. The man's breath gradually became hot, breaths intertwining, tips of noses, touching each other, a gentle and lingering atmosphere spreading. She pressed close to she whispered, "We are already legally husband and wife. No need to speak to me so formally, right, darling?" The second time she called me husband, I felt my head explode with a boom. Facing those mischievous eyes, smiling like a little fox, I hurriedly looked away first, flustered. Yeah, right. Seeing my embarrassed look, Song Shiyuan's mischievous urge was satisfied. A gentle smile bloomed on her lips. She immediately let go, knowing when to stop. She took my hand. Walking briskly, she pushed the door open. Outside, the crowd was noisy. Guests were waiting eagerly. Song Shiyuan turned back to look at me. Her eyes were gentle, like a radiant spring, filled with expectation and love. In her pure white wedding dress, she was unrealistically beautiful. Everything around paled in comparison to her. This scene was deeply etched into my brain. Even many years later, when recalling it, her smile hadn't faded in my memory in the slightest. After settling Lu Ixichin down, Wen Shu drove back to the Wen villa to keep vigil. There was not a single sound in the large house. Everyone had voluntarily withdrawn, leaving her alone kneeling before the spirit tablet. Busy all day, she hadn't had time to eat, kneeling until her head throbbed. She unconsciously blurted out, "Huai Chuan, is the porridge ready?" As soon as the words were spoken, she suddenly realized the man who cooked porridge for her at midnight was no longer there. An inexplicable sour feeling flooded her body. She felt as if a big hole had been punched in her heart, cold wind blowing in. This uncontrollable feeling made Wen Shu feel irritable all over. Just then, in the maid's room on the first floor, came the sound of deliberately hushed arguing, clearly not wanting her to hear. In the room, a maid knelt on the floor, face full of fear, trembling like a leaf, face pale as paper. "Please don't tell the miss. I really didn't steal anything from the Wen family. I picked this ring out of the trash can." The butler looked serious, not believing a word of her lies. The pink gem on the ring emitted a dazzling light in the dark maid's room. This quality was worth at least tens of millions. How could someone just casually throw it in the trash? Just as he was about to continue questioning her, the next second, the door was suddenly kicked open. Everyone was startled. Turning around, they saw Wen Shu walking in coldly, step by step. Her eyes fell on that brilliant, dazzling diamond. Her pupils contracted violently for a moment. This was the dream diamond she had once casually mentioned. Distant memories flooded back, bringing along long-buried feelings, and those unknown undercurrents. In Wen Shu's memory, since she was very young, I had been by her side, like the most loyal dog, never disobeying her. She had long known I liked her. There was no hiding it. My expressive eyes held feelings too deep, making it hard not to notice. Over the years, I stayed by her side, enduring humiliation without complaint. To say she wasn't moved would be a lie, but the gap in their status was truly too great. She couldn't imagine. If people in their circle found out that she actually cared about a driver's son, how they would mock her behind her back. So, when I opened my misty eyes and carefully asked her that if she were proposed to, what kind of diamond ring she would like, she didn't hesitate to name an astronomically priced brand and specified the most expensive model, hoping to use this humiliating method to scare me off. At that time, the man's expression didn't change, but she clearly saw my hands clench into fists. She thought this was a sign of me backing down. After all, with my salary at that time, even if I didn't eat or drink for a lifetime, I couldn't afford this diamond ring. But she never, ever expected that this ring would actually appear in the Wen house, or that it was really bought by me. Seeing Wen Shu's face getting worse and worse, the maid had long been scared out of her wits. She rushed over to hug her legs, begging, "Miss, please spare me. This ring, Mr. Go threw it into the trash can himself back then. I was foolish for a moment and picked it up to hide. I really didn't steal anything. Please don't fire me," she cried miserably. But Wen Shu's expression didn't improve at all. It even became extremely ugly. Wen Shu kicked the maid away. Anger and panic mixed together in her heart. Her hands trembled as she dialed the phone. She couldn't wait to hear from that man's own mouth whether he had actually thought about proposing to her. Beep, beep, beep. "The number you are calling is on another call." I had hung up on her, disbelieving. She called again, only to find she had been blocked. Wen Shu was so angry, her face turned dark green. She abruptly raised her phone to smash it on the ground, but the phone suddenly rang. A hint of imperceptible joy flashed across her face, almost thinking it was me calling. Looking, she realized it was Secretary Xiao Li. Suppressing her anger, she answered. Xiao Li's panicked voice came through as if the sky was falling. "President Wen, come back quickly and see. Yesterday, after transferring the project funds to the Lu Group, they suddenly said they want to cancel the contract. All cooperative projects between both sides have been terminated. Now the company's capital chain is completely broken. Employees are rioting at the company. Young master, Lu went abroad overnight. We can't contact him at all now. President Wen. Surely he hasn't run off with the money. What should we do?" Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Wen Shu. "What did you say?" Her heart instantly sank to the abyss. Since Lu Zichen returned to the country, she had been seduced by him, investing billions in projects for the Lu Group, bringing the Lu Group back to life overnight. Their relationship also heated up instantly. Some time ago, Lu Zichen even went with her to choose a wedding dress. But now the cruel reality before her eyes extinguished her last hope. She uncontrollably screamed, "No, impossible. Brother Ixichen would absolutely never treat me like this," she screamed, grabbing her hair with both hands, like a madwoman. Wen Shu immediately wanted to go to the Lu family home to personally question Lu Zichen why he did this. But when she stood in front of the empty old Lu villa, she realized with a start that it was all a plot. The cruel reality nearly made her faint. How could she have thought that the happy times over the past few days were just a long-planned exploitation? Lu Zichen used sweet words to deceive her, making her willingly hand over more than half her fortune, then unhesitatingly kicked her aside, running off with the money. Attacked by extreme anger affecting her heart, Wen Shu suddenly spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Her body staggered back a few steps. She collapsed on the ground, crying and laughing. The butler watched in terror, rushing forward to support her, hearing Wen Shu, with her eyes closed, her small pale face covered in cold sweat, muttering like in a nightmare, "Huai Chuan, I was wrong." When she woke up in bed, there was no one around. It was extremely quiet. Wen Shu, who was once pursued by everyone, now sick, had no one come to visit. Relationships in this circle were inherently cold, but when it was actually her turn to be treated coldly, her heart couldn't help but ache. The scene from last night appeared in her mind again, in Wen Shu's head. It was full of every little memory with me from the past, and my ice-cold expression at the wedding venue, intertwining, making her head ache as if splitting apart. She cried out loud. The secretary guarding the door immediately pushed in, holding a large pile of documents, looking at Wen Shu with great worry. "President Wen, about the company matters. We really can't delay any longer. There's no money left in the accounts now. We can barely pay salaries." Wen Shu was stunned, suddenly giving a laugh, her voice full of self-mockery and regret. "It's all my own doing." Luckily, having controlled the Wen Group for many years, Wen Shu took a deep breath and still tried to issue orders one by one. Right now, the urgent thing was to solve the broken capital chain problem. Wen Shu pondered for a long time, reluctantly. She could only order the secretary to put all real estate under her name up for sale. This action undoubtedly told the outside world that the Wen Group had reached a dead end, but Wen Shu now had no time to care about others' opinions of her dignity. Before the crisis of survival had shattered into pieces. Worthless, the phone kept dinging nonstop. She picked it up to check. Messages full of malicious sarcasm and probing. With red eyes, she scrolled to the bottom, but didn't see the name she secretly hoped for. Has he really completely let me go? No. I don't believe it. The fire of anger in her heart burned stronger, almost swallowing Wen Shu whole. The secretary saw she was in a bad mood and didn't dare breathe loudly. Trembling, he continued, "President Wen, those projects Assistant Gu was in charge of before leaving have now reached the return phase. The results are all very impressive. But after hearing Assistant Gu resigned, the investors have all expressed they don't want to continue cooperating with us. Looking at this situation, how should we handle it?" Wen Shu was startled inside. How could she have imagined that my ability was actually that strong? Thinking for a while, she coldly ordered the butler, "Call uncle over here." An old man over 70 stumbled in, with a gentle smile on his face. "Young miss." He had spent half his life at the Wen family home. He had long considered Wen Shu and family home. He had long considered Wen Shu as his own child. His love for her even surpassed that for his own biological son. "After I got married, I begged him to move out, but he refused. Old Mr. Wen has passed away. Huai Chuan has left too. How could you have the heart to leave the young miss here all alone? Furthermore, now that the Wen family is once again in deep trouble," he looked at Wen Shu with even more affection. "Uncle Gu, please call Huai Chuan. There are still some company matters I need to hand over to him. I can't reach him right now." Facing the old man who was so loyal to the Wen family, Wen Shu's attitude softened a bit. Father Gu responded repeatedly and immediately took out his phone to call me. The call connected the next second. That familiar gentle male voice came through. "Dad, what's the matter?" "The young miss is looking for you." Saying that, Father Gu handed the phone to Wen Shu. The woman's expression didn't change, but Xiao Li, who had been by her side for many years, was surprised to discover a flicker of nervousness in CEO Wen's eyes. "Hello." Hearing her voice, the other side fell silent for a moment. Then the voice suddenly turned cold. "Wen Shu, is there any point to this?" Hearing my questioning tone, Wen Shu's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. It hurt so much, her whole body trembled. Taking a few breaths, she spoke with a hint of anger. "Gu Huaichuan, how did I not know you were capable of such tricks before? What do you mean by that? The partners for the projects you were in charge of, now that they know you've quit, they all want to cancel their contracts with the Wen Group. Do you dare say you didn't pull any strings?" A sneer came from the other end of the line. My tone was calm and unruffled. "You think too highly of me. I am just a driver's son. I don't have that kind of capability to make trouble for you behind your back." Remembering how she used to look down on me, Wen Shu's anger was immediately extinguished by more than half. She only felt her headache get worse. She rarely showed weakness in front of others. 1,000 grievances welled up in her heart, choking back sobs. She spoke. Gu Huaichuan. Must you talk to me like that? The high and mighty eldest miss of the Wen family was now like an abandoned dog, sobbing and begging the man she once despised the most. There was a long silence on the other end, making it extremely uncomfortable. The woman's face was deathly pale. Mist gradually rose in her eyes. Anyone seeing it would feel pity. Seeing her like this, Father Ju got anxious and angry. He snatched the phone and shouted at me, "You unfilial son." The young miss was so angry she vomited blood last night. And now you dare to make her angry again? If you have the guts, don't ever come back, or it'll break your legs. Rest assured, I am married now. I definitely won't be an eyesore at the dime. Wen house. The reply from that side was crisp, falling on Wen Shu's ears like a bolt from the blue. Her lips trembled. Bean-sized beads of sweat rolled down her forehead. Her bloodshot eyes stared at the phone, filled with unwillingness and resentment, until the sound of the call ending rang out. Only then did she snap out of it in a panic. In a frenzy, she grabbed everything within reach and smashed it to the ground, screaming at the top of her lungs, "Get out! Everyone get the hell out of here!" Everyone was shocked, and quickly left. After everyone had gone, Wen Shu sat on the bed, dazed, hugging her knees with both arms, curled up in an extremely insecure posture, clutching that pink diamond ring tightly in her hand, as if torturing herself over and over again in her head, recalling every little detail with me, letting the tears fall, looking utterly wretched. In the deep of the night, a sound of ultimate grief came from the house, so sorrowful it was heartbreaking. Clearly, you loved me so much before. Why can you just let go so easily now? Gu Huaichuan. How am I supposed to live? On the other side, after hanging up the phone, I happened to see Song Shiyuan, who had just finished showering, standing prettily at the door, wearing pink bunny pajamas. My gaze fell on the woman's small, snow-white face, then moved to her wet hair. I stood up, naturally took the towel from her hand, and patiently dried her hair. The atmosphere was quiet. My bony fingers combed through her black hair. A faint scent of orchids drifted in the air, gradually calming my restless and tired mind, as if they were meant to be this way. The romantic atmosphere between the two suddenly rose, breaths entwined, gentle and lingering. My finger was gently held. The place where it was cut by a glass shard before had formed a faint scar. A look of distress appeared in Song Shiyuan's eyes. Who were you talking to just now? My movements paused slightly. I still chose to answer truthfully. Wen Shu. Feeling it wasn't right, I added, "It was just work matters." Song Shiyuan's eyes went a bit cold, clearly showing unhappiness on her face. "I don't like you having contact with her, after how she treated you before." Hearing the first half of the sentence, I felt a pang of panic, but the second half made me feel like I fell into a honeypot. My heart and eyes were full of the pouting girl in front of me, looking into her gentle, watery eyes. After hesitating a few times, I finally asked the question that had been on my mind for a long time. "Why did you agree to marry me in the beginning? After all, back then, we were at most strangers who had met once." Her rushing to agree back then, and going with me to register the marriage, seemed strange after all. Song Shiyuan lay on my lap, eyes curved in a smile, like two clear springs under the moonlight, flowing with love. "Do you really not remember who I am, Brother Huaichuan?" With this call, long-sealed memories were suddenly awakened. I suddenly remembered a few years ago, at my mother's cemetery. I met a little girl crying, sniffling. At that time, I had just turned 15, bullied at the Wen house with no one to talk to. I could only run to the cemetery at midnight to talk to my mom. In the quiet dark night, among the tombstones stood a barefoot little girl. Her small white face was covered with crystal clear tears. Her small lips pouted, crying and calling for her mother. Crying so much I had to take notice. How could I have imagined that in a cemetery at midnight, I would meet someone in the same boat as me? I felt pity under the gaze of the girl's jet black eyes. I spoke gently. "It's not safe here, late at night. Where is your home?" "I'll take you back." The girl didn't say anything, just opened her eyes wide, looking at me. There was no guard in her eyes, only innocence and naivety remained. A while later, she suddenly reached out her hands, smiling sweetly. "Big brother, carry me." I was stunned, subconsciously stepped forward, and picked her up in my arms. I even thoughtfully used my jacket to wrap her fair legs, afraid she would get cold. "You are so gentle." The young Song Shiyuan thought in her heart. They sat like that, until dawn broke. The Song family rushed over anxiously to find her, and took the girl home. Song's father offered to repay me, but I refused. At the end of the memory was the pleasant scent of orchids on the girl, and her innocent smile when leaving. "So, your name is Gu Huaichuan. What a nice name. Next time we meet, I will definitely recognize you." She did it. The first time she met me, she recognized me. Song Shiyuan herself didn't understand. Why? For someone she only met once, she was so deeply obsessed. They say liking starts with pity. When she saw on that gentle, restrained face, a sad expression revealed. All hesitation in her heart vanished. I didn't believe in love at first sight before, but meeting you, I realized I was wrong. An incredibly direct confession. I was slightly surprised. My pale face immediately blushed. I originally thought she just pitied me. I fumbled with my tie. My ears quietly turned red too. My gaze floated uncertainly, not daring to look at Song Shiwan. Seeing me shy like this, Song Shiwan's playfulness rose. She leaned in mischievously, bringing her lips close to the man's lips, breath smelling like orchids. We are lawful husband and wife now. Mr. Gu, when do you plan to exercise your rights as a husband? My mind exploded with a boom. I didn't hear clearly what Song Shiyuan said next. All I could see was those red lips opening and closing. The bright red color made one want to kiss them at first glance. The next morning, when Song Shiwan rubbed her sore waist and sat up, I had already finished making breakfast, finished daily exercise, showering, and other things, and sat upright at the desk handling work matters. Seeing me dressed neatly, with a serious, flawless expression, Song Shiwan suddenly thought of a phrase, a beast in human clothing. Clearly, last night, I was the one who grabbed her waist again and again, whispering embarrassing sweet nothings in her ear. But during the day, putting on clothes, I returned to my usual gentle and restrained self, as if the person who fought until dawn last night wasn't me. When Shu slept soundly for a day and a night, waking up numb in bed. Downstairs was the sound of the secretary bringing someone to view the house. She went down the stairs and unexpectedly saw a familiar face, a man wearing a thick gold chain around his neck, greedily and disgustingly scanning the house. When his gaze landed on her, those small, rat-like eyes immediately burst with shocking light. Chen Guoqing, a famous nouveau riche in the circle, he started out mining gold, famous for being rich, and also famous for having no class. Anyone with a bit of status or position would not want to associate with him at all. Previously, he was attracted by Wen Shu's appearance and shamelessly pursued her for a while. I had someone teach him a lesson. Only then did he stop, feeling that sticky, disgusting gaze. In Wen Shu's heart, she was 100% unwilling to let this kind of person step into the Wen Villa. Secretary Xiao Li, seeing her gaze getting more and more disgusted, hurriedly stepped forward and whispered, CEO Wen, this President Chen is the highest bidder in this auction, double what others offered. Please endure it a little. Chen Guoqing, seeing the woman's expression, immediately became unhappy. He took off his shoes on his own accord and propped his dirty, smelly feet on the tea table, casually picked up the teapot, and drank huge gulps directly from the spout. A look of a petty person achieving success. Wen Shu, I am not lecturing you, but your Wen group is at a dead end. Why are you still putting on airs like a young miss? Before, when your father and Gu Huaishuan were here, I gave you some face. Now it's just you, a little girl. Who do you think you are? Wen Shu's fists suddenly clenched, held back tightly by the secretary. She barely refrained from rushing up to hit him. Chen Guoqing became even more arrogant. He raised his hand. The bodyguards behind him brought dozens of boxes and stacked them neatly on the table. Opening them revealed they were full of gold bars. Leaving aside the estimated value of hundreds of billions, that much money could clearly buy 10 Wen family villas. Miss Wen, Chen Guoqing, don't like beating around the bush. I work straight to the point. What I have my eye on is never just a small house. But you, this person, the man with the pointed mouth and hollow cheeks, stood up from the sofa, eyes filled with lust, rubbing his hands together like a fly, a greedy, wicked smile on his lips. As long as you follow me, this money counts as the betrothal gift, and your Wen group can be saved. He spoke confidently, certain that Wen Shu would definitely agree. After all, the Wen group really was out of options. Besides marrying him, who else would help Wen Shu clean up this mess? Wen Shu almost bit through the soft flesh inside her mouth. When the taste of iron came, her throat couldn't control the nausea. Nauseous, to the point where everything in her stomach was vomited out. Chen Guoqing clearly didn't expect her to react like that. Not only did she not worship him like the god of wealth, but she vomited directly from disgust. His face immediately darkened. His triangular eyes flared up, looking ferocious. What the hell are you pretending for? Who doesn't know by now? Miss Wen Shu is damaged goods dumped by Lu Ixichin twice. That I am willing to take you as your blessing. Don't you dare be ungrateful. Wen Shu vomited until she was dizzy, eyes bloodshot, voice hoarse. What are you, to dare covet me? Even if I am destitute enough to beg later, I wouldn't marry someone like you. Proud as she was, she would never bow to others for money. Get out. Get the hell out of here. Hearing her furious screams, Secretary Xiao Li was afraid something bad would happen. Hastily bowed and flattered Chen Guoqing to show him out. But the man flicked his sleeves, pointing at Wen Shu's nose, cursing, you don't know what's good for you. No wonder no man wants you. If I were Gu Huaichuan, sucking up to you for over 10 years with no result, it'd dump you to marry Song Shiwan too. Smack. A crisp slap sounded. Inside Wen Shu's head, the final string called reason snapped. She grabbed the fruit knife beside her and gripped it tightly. Murderous intent surged in her eyes. If you don't leave, I don't mind sending you off. Chen Guoqing held the half of his face that was slapped. Looking at the shiny blade, his face finally showed fear. He scrambled to run out, not forgetting to take his gold bars with him, cursing under his breath. Nothing good. After he left, Wen Shu collapsed onto the floor, haggard. The knife in her hand clattered to the ground. She stared straight ahead, eyes empty, revealing a trace of deep sorrow and despair in the hopelessness. The formerly insufferably arrogant Wen Shu had now become something even this kind of trash could touch. Chen Guoking's words echoed in her ears, reminding her time and again what a pure and sincere love she had lost. Did I ever like him? I did. Youthful feelings always come fiercely and impulsively. When she realized that she liked a driver's son, her first reaction was to escape the proud Wen Shu. She absolutely couldn't stand developing feelings for a lowlife. To her, this was a humiliation, so she could only numb her heart, forcing herself to be with Lu Xichen, forcing herself to love a man whose status and position were matching. In fact, when the secretary informed her that Lu Zichen ran away with the money, after a brief heartache, her first reaction was relief. Relief about what? Wen Shu couldn't understand. Her mind was a mess like paste. Countless scenes flashed by. Before, when Lu Zichen went to send Shiwen abroad, she hid in her room crying for 3 days. It was me who broke the lock, kneeling on the floor begging her to eat a bite of rice, so she wouldn't starve to death. I became her secret lover. The two of us went crazy night after night in the Wen Villa. She loved seeing my patient yet infatuated expression the most, unreasonably testing my bottom line. When I opened those slightly droopy eyes, looking at her intently, asking for a status, her heart wavered. But Lu Zichen's sudden return to the country disrupted all her plans. She got scared. She retreated. The truth proved she chose wrong again and pushed herself into a point of no return. Today, Chen Guoking's words once again stimulated Wen Shu's heart. She finally realized. It turned out my position in her heart far exceeded her imagination. She had long been used to me standing behind her, solving all difficulties for her, as if with me there, everything would be resolved. The sense of security provided was incomparable to others. After reaching this conclusion, she was much calmer than imagined. The previous confusion and entanglement vanished in this moment. Only one thought remained in her heart. She wants to meet me, very much. She grabbed the phone intending to call me, then suddenly remembered she was blocked. A bitter smile appeared on Wen Shu's lips. Her heart ached uncontrollably, but she was helpless. Reluctantly, she had the butler call Father Gu over, personally brewed him a cup of tea, exploiting this old man's pity to achieve her goal. After moving out of the Wen Villa, I immediately set up my own company. During 10 years working at Wen Group, my experience and expertise far exceeded the scope of a general manager's assistant. If not for old Mr. Wen's face, I wouldn't have wasted so much time at the Wen house. At first, people in the circle were secretly watching to laugh at me, mocking me for overestimating myself. But gradually, they suddenly discovered the man they once looked down on, relying solely on his own strength, had firmly established himself in City A within a short even continuously signing large orders with working capital over 100 million. Sales channels connected with famous foreign enterprises. The business map expanded at a visible speed. My name instantly resounded throughout the business world. The commotion was so great that the Song family, who originally disliked me, designated Song Shiyuan to bring me home for a visit. Sitting in the car back to the Song house, Song Shiyuan was wearing exquisite makeup. She had been holding her breath for this, always silently supporting her husband's startup from behind. A warm, dry hand covered hers. Song Shiyuan looked up and met my smiling eyes. You look very beautiful today. Song Shiyuan's face heated up. Her lips unconsciously curled up. My parents used to have opinions about you. Now they finally believe in my judgment of people, right? Hearing her words as if a burden was lifted, my mood also improved accordingly. In fact, the Song parents didn't just have opinions about me. It's just that Song Shiyuan couldn't bear to make me sad, so she always hid those harsh words, afraid it would affect my mood. After all, who is Song Shiyuan? The eldest miss sought after by everyone, yet she married me, this obscure little assistant. Anyone would feel we were mismatched, let alone Song Shiyuan's biological parents. Even if she didn't say it, I understood in my heart. This is also the reason why I was so eager to establish the company. This time, I proved myself with my own ability and successfully won my father-in-law's approval. After one meal, I was attentive and polite, with courteous manners, quickly winning the affection of both elders. By the end of the conversation, Mr. Song even put his hand on my shoulder, his face flushed with joy, looking as satisfied as could be. Mrs. Song suddenly felt moved, feeling as if a heavy stone had finally been lifted from her heart. She held her daughter's hand tightly, saying, "As long as you two are okay, I can rest easy. Your father didn't agree before, because he was afraid you'd suffer if you followed Huai Chuan. You've never suffered since you were little. How could I bear to let you live a hard life? I didn't expect him to be so capable. I am truly happy for you, my dear daughter." Tears welled up in Song Shiyuan's eyes. She hugged Mrs. Song back. A clear teardrop hung on the beauty's face, enhancing her moving allure even more. The whole family talked until 7 or 8 o'clock, until the butler came to remind Mr. Song it was time for his therapy. Only then did he reluctantly let me go. Seeing this, Mrs. Song covered her mouth and teased, "Hurry, don't keep them. The young couple still needs to be intimate." Song Shiyuan's face instantly turned beet red. She looked at her mother petulantly. Looking up, she saw I was blushing too. The two quickly avoided eye contact. Mr. Song laughed heartily, rubbing his belly. Looking at the two, with a benevolent expression, nodding repeatedly. Standing on the balcony at night, Song Shiwan's gaze fell on the man beside her. His facial features were smooth, gentle, as jade, seemed to be personified in me. My dad is getting old. When he gets excited, he likes to hold people back and not let them go. Don't take it to heart. The window was half open. Early winter snow mixed with a slightly cold wind, blowing to make one's mind sober for a moment. The strangeness, constraint, and distrust all seemed to vanish in this moment. No. I shook my head, thoughtfully tying the scarf for Song Shiyuan, smiling comfortingly at her. It's my honor to have their approval. Hearing me say that, Song Shiyuan finally felt completely at ease. Back inside, I sat at the desk to handle work as usual. Song Shiyuan brewed a pot of tea for me, then sat down immediately, slowly reading English documents. The two tacitly understood not to disturb each other, only exchanging warm glances. In the quiet atmosphere, the two opened up and talked a lot for the first time, talking about losing my mother at a young age, being adopted by Mr. Wen, and getting entangled with Wen Shu for those 10 years. From childhood to adulthood, the education I received always told me, everything must prioritize the young miss. I had long been used to cleaning up the messes she left behind, tolerating all her unreasonable bad temper. A complex look appeared on Song Shiwen's face. Her fingers unconsciously curled up. Feeling incredibly distressed for him, she stood up, sat beside me, placing her hand gently on the back of mine. I don't blame you for the past. You had no choice. She actively talked about when she studied abroad, having dated an ex-boyfriend, telling the stupid things she did after being charmed by looks, making me happy. Ultimately, her gentle, water-like eyes gazed at me, mesmerizing one's soul. Gu Huai Chuan. I don't want to be just a passerby in your life. I want to hold your hand until we're old. The wind blew past, blowing down clumps of white snow piled on the branches. The sound of snow blocks falling to the ground one after another, but it still couldn't cover up the sound of my heart beating like thunder inside the house. Before I was 30, I always blamed fate for being too harsh and cruel to me. It seemed all good things were destined to miss me, but now I feel, if all the past misfortunes were to meet Song Shiyuan, then I am willing and content. When I received the call from Father W, I was in a company meeting. Now that the company is on track, I was so busy, my feet didn't touch the ground. With my strategic vision, I expanded the foreign trade platform, choosing not to compete for benefits with established enterprises, but finding another path. This path that no one has ever taken. Behind it hides not only huge profits, it also means I need to put in thousands of times more effort than others. Looking back at the Wen Group, the doors are deserted. The former backbones of the company, seeing the serious situation, all packed up and fled. Many shareholders also sold off stocks at low prices. Wen Group's stock evaporated trillions overnight. Reluctantly, Wen Shu could only sacrifice the rook to save the king, closing many subsidiaries. The Wen Group, after 10 years, once again fell into a bankruptcy crisis. After agreeing on the location with Father Jiyu, I immediately informed Song Shiwen, and that day, Song Shiyuan happened to have an academic forum to attend, so she personally chose many expensive gifts, entrusting me to give them to her father-in-law, polite and thoughtful, making it impossible for anyone to criticize anything. Before setting off, I always had an uneasy feeling in my heart, dragging Song Shiwan to talk for a long time, until the woman petulantly punched me lightly. Only then did I reluctantly let go of her wrist, carefully, buttoning every button of her coat, and putting another jacket on her. You're about to wrap me up like a dumpling. Song Shiwan protested discontentedly, but was firmly stuffed into the car by me, pinching the soft flesh on her face. Wear more to stay warm. The cold medicine is ready. It's in the thermos. Ill. Have Xiao Zhang remind you to drink it. Song Shiwan nodded. A surge of sweetness rose in her heart. Unknowingly, I took over caring for her, almost raising her like a daughter, dressing her, combing her hair, and making breakfast for her every morning, taking the clothes that were only about looks and not warmth, and putting them all away. Sometimes even more verbose than Mrs. Song. Okay. I know, you go early too. Don't keep Dad waiting too long. Make sure to pay attention to safety on the road. The car slowly drove away. I watched her drive out of the residential area, merging into the endless stream of traffic, turning around to get in my car. After arriving at the meeting place, I saw at a glance Wen Shu sitting with Father Gu. My face immediately went cold. Father Gu scolded, "Put away that deadpan face. Sit down obediently for me, or else don't call me father anymore." My expression was extremely ugly, choosing the seat furthest from Wen Shu to sit down, eyes full of vigilance. "What do you want?" Seeing me avoiding her like this, Wen Shu felt a subtle pain in her heart. She put down the chopsticks in her hand, crossed her arms over her chest, quietly looked at me for a few seconds, with a smile that wasn't a smile. "You followed me for over 10 years anyway. Can't I just reminisce with you? There's nothing to say between us." Suddenly standing up, turning to leave, but was forced back into the chair by Father Gu. "Do you really think now that you've left the Wen family, you think you're all grown up? I can't control you anymore." "Can I?" Father Gu said, while walking out, and locked the door directly from the outside, giving me no chance to leave. Wen Shu looked at my angry but helpless state, chuckled lightly, personally poured me a glass of wine. "Sit, don't be so angry. Assistant Gu. Her fingertips stroked the man's suit, sliding all the way to his chin, gently scratching. This face of yours. Looks. Not enough to make Song Shiyuan lose her soul. What trick did you use after all? To make her so obsessed with you, and even go register for marriage with you? I guess it must be thanks to your tricks in bed. Wait until she gets bored. Your role as the Song family son-in-law will be over. The mockery in her voice almost spilled over. I frowned and pushed her away, rubbing my chin hard with my hand, as if disgusted by being touched by something dirty. President Wen. This is my private matter. You have no right to interfere, right? Haha. Wen Shu gave a sarcastic smile. She drained the wine in her glass, suddenly threw the glass to the ground, eyes red. Gu Huaichuan. You and I slept together for 10 years. You think now that you married another woman, you can escape me completely? Then what do our 10 years count as? I looked at her coldly. No affection or attachment left in my eyes, replaced by deep disgust. Counted as me being blind. My voice carried a cruel firmness, like the sharpest blade in the world, cutting Wen Shu's heart until blood gushed out. No. I don't believe it. Obviously. You loved me so much before. I don't believe you can just let go. I'll give you one last chance. As long as you're willing to come back to me now, the wrong things you did before, I absolutely won't pursue them anymore. Just come back obediently. Even if you want to marry me, I agree to. Her volume got lower and lower, seeming to realize this card, in the heart of the current man, had long lost any value. Seeing her expression of uncontrolled pain, after a brief shock, an indescribably complex expression appeared on my face. The sentence I used to dream of, now finally spoken from Wen Shu's mouth. I just felt ironic and funny, recalling the cold and harsh treatment before, not believing for a bit that Wen Shu really loved me. Nothing but withdrawal symptoms from my sudden departure. A dog used to being ordered around suddenly ran away. Anyone would be unreconciled. I silently left the seat, voice cold yet calm. I love my wife very much. Please don't say such line-crossing words in the future. I don't want her to misunderstand. I threw the sentence down and ignored her, called the bodyguards outside the door, told them to prepare to break the lock. Wen Shu slumped to the ground, soulless, looking at my back. Not a trace of blood left on her face. She had vowed with certainty, as long as she bowed her head to coax me. With my unchanging deep love for her over the years, I would definitely leave Song Shiyuan and return to her side without stopping. But what she didn't expect was, I actually loved Song Shiyuan. Anger instantly peaked in her heart. A dangerously dangerous storm brewed in her eyes. She stared at the man's heartless and decisive back. Screamed out, Gu Wei Chuan, I will definitely make you regret today's decision. The man seemed not to hear, didn't stop for a moment, even quickened his pace to leave. Wen Shu laughed sorrowfully, holding the phone with dead ashes in her heart, made a phone call. Her eyes were bloodshot, the voice filled with madness of perishing together. Do it. I impatiently urged the driver to start. I was in a hurry to pick up Song Shiyuan. Tonight is our 3-month wedding anniversary. My car was filled with gifts. Big and small. Running towards my lover with love. On the other side, Song Shiyuan just left the academic forum conference, surrounded by academic dignitaries, a proper and generous smile, patiently answering their invitations. I decisively decided to return to the country, just to contribute to the translation of ancient texts in the country. A small effort, seniors. This is my lifelong dream. Also my responsibility as a citizen, later. No matter which research institute I work at, it will be my honor. A speech appropriate to the extreme. A charming smile, hanging on her lips. Once again winning everyone's affection, the Qingbei University professor revealed a look of praise. This little girl is young, has become a top domestic, master of ancient text translation. Such talent not only has extremely high academic attainments, but also has strong patriotism. This is exactly the specialized talent they urgently need. He was just about to approach to recruit her, but saw the secretary beside Song Shiyuan whisper something to her. Her face immediately turned pale, anxiously rushed into the car, didn't even have time to pick up her bag that fell to the ground. As soon as she got in the car, Song Shiyuan's face, which always wore a smile, revealed an uncontrolled, panicked expression for the first time. She grabbed Xiao Zhang's hand tightly, voice anxious to the extreme. Why did Huai Xuan suddenly have a car accident? How is his condition now? Is it serious? Xiao Zhang nervously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The face that was usually the most honest, at this moment revealed a mix of excitement and insidiousness. Miss Song, President Gu was just urgently taken to the hospital. They notified that a direct relative must sign. Otherwise, the doctors don't dare to operate. As soon as he finished speaking, tears in Song Shiyuan's eyes fell. Immediately, her lips trembling, she urged, faster. Use the fastest speed to get there. The Rolls-Royce with license plate 8,888 sped through the pouring rain. Under the heavy rain, hidden conspiracies and treachery quietly emerged at this moment. As Song Shiyuan gradually realized something was wrong, the car had long since driven out of the city, running all the way to an old factory 100 kilometers from City A. Xiaozhang. We've been driving so long. Why aren't we there yet? Song Shiyuan met the secretary's eyes through the rearview mirror. Glance. Suddenly saw a greedy and gloomy look in the man's eyes. The bad feeling was particularly strong. Don't worry. We're almost there. The closer to the meeting place, Xiao Zhang's heart beat faster. In his mind, Wen Shu's beautiful but vicious fox eyes appeared. Your son is in my hands. Just do as I say obediently. I will definitely guarantee his safety. Otherwise, wait to collect his corpse. The sound of his son sobbing came through the phone. Xiao Zhang only felt his heart being squeezed by a big hand. Immediately nodded in agreement. Thinking of this, his previously wavering heart suddenly became firm. Miss Song, Mr. Gu, don't blame me. I was forced to. Screech. A piercing breaking sound rang out. The car finally stopped. Song Shiyuan was roughly yanked out of the car by the secretary, falling to the ground. Just as she was about to get angry, a familiar chuckle came from above her head. Looking up, Wen Shu held a black umbrella, standing at the door of the old factory. Her whole being seemed to blend into the night. A crazy smile hung on her face, getting wider and wider, looking particularly gloomy and terrifying. We meet again. Miss Song, she paused, features twisted in excitement. Mrs. Ju. Inside the old factory, the turbid air irritated the throat. Hard to breathe. Song Shiyuan was tied to an old chair. Her clothes were also cut to shreds, covered in bruises from being beaten. Wen Shu slapped her face repeatedly. Crisp slapping sounds rang out one after another. Song Shiyuan's gentle and beautiful face was beaten until nose and mouth were swollen and purple. Even Wen Shu's kidnapping accomplices beside her couldn't help but frown. From beginning to end, she gritted her teeth without making a sound. Unbelievably tough. Song Shiyuan. Before you stole Lu Xachen, I haven't settled that with you yet. Now you reach out for Gu Huai Juan. Do you like snatching the leftovers? I don't want that much. Song Shiyuan's mouth was stained with blood. Anger finally rose in her ice-cold eyes, staring unkindly ahead at the woman who seemed crazy. Leftovers. Wen Shu, from beginning to end, you never treated Hua Chuan as a normal person. You only saw him as your servant and property. This determined that your sick love would have no result. It's natural that he chose me. Don't tell me you regret it now. A faint mockery appeared on Song Shiyuan's face, falling into Wen Shu's eyes, shockingly dazzling. Wen Shu completely lost it, as if the secret in her heart was poked, angry and ashamed. Shut the hell up. When I arrived, only a few people were left at the scene. No sign of Song Shiyuan. My heart suddenly tightened, having an ominous feeling. I grabbed one of them, anxiously asking about Song Shiyuan's whereabouts. That person happened to be the Qingbei University professor. He handed the woman's handbag to me, describing in detail the scene of Song Shiyuan leaving. I only vaguely heard the secretary say, President Gu to her. Something happened, and she left anxiously in a hurry. My heart skipped a beat. The next second, I received a call from Wen Shu. Her words, directly, extinguished the little hope remaining. In my mind, completely blank. On the other end, the woman's tone was a half smile. Gu Huai Chuan. If you want her to live, come alone to the old factory to find me. You know the specific address. My hand trembled. The phone slipped and fell to the ground, shattering immediately. The bodyguard bent down to pick it up. Seeing my pale face, tremblingly opened his mouth. President Go. According to information from our subordinates, Madam completely lost contact after being taken out of the city. We can't know the specific address now. I closed my eyes, forcing myself to calm down, driving alone towards the suburbs with a cold face. The cold, damp winter rain never stopped, hitting the car window, making a heavy, gloomy sound, making one feel inexplicably suffocated and uncomfortable. When the surrounding scenery turned from strange to familiar, I couldn't help but be slightly stunned. This is where Wen Shu's grandfather used to live, bearing the few sweet memories of the two. At first, after Father Wen passed away, to hide from creditors, I took Wen Shu to hide in this old residential building. The two lived a life almost isolated from the world. No matter what I did, Wen Shu would be like a little tail, following behind me. At that time, the eldest Miss Wen, having just lost her father, the person she could rely on, was only this brother she grew up with. Their feelings quickly heated up. It was also here that Wen Shu and I were first intimate. Wen Shu stood on the terrace, looking down at me below, watching the man in a polite suit walk up the stairs. Step by step, she set the meeting place here, actually having selfish motives. She was still stubborn in her heart, thinking that I still had her in my heart, trying to soften my heart through memories. After leaving the Wen group, I rose all the way, long gone are the days of being that submissive little assistant. The aura around me was strong enough to terrify people, even arriving alone. The vicious kidnappers didn't dare to act rashly. Just a casual glance from me scared them almost witless. Wen Shu's heart felt more and more bitter. Originally, such an excellent man belonged exclusively to her, but now someone else beat her to it. The man with a face like ice, standing there with a cold silhouette. Her eye sockets suddenly turned red. Release her quickly. Keep dreaming. Just look at me, doting on my wife. Wen Shu felt like a huge rock was blocking her heart, crushing her until she couldn't breathe. Do you like her that much? This question made me pause for a moment, facing Song Shiyuan, her eyes misty with tears. When looking into her eyes, my gaze became especially firm. No, I love her. There was clear shock in Song Shiyuan's eyes, then tears of joy welled up. Wen Shu watched from the side, Her expression immediately turned incredibly ugly. Jealousy and anger rose within her, almost swallowing her whole. She immediately ordered her men to hang the woman up, hanging off the edge of the rooftop. Song Shiyuan's whole body swayed, about to fall. Her beautiful, gentle face was drained of all blood. The north wind whistled in gusts. The unsteady rope made a creaking sound, making one's heart skip a beat just hearing it. I couldn't hold back anymore. My hands clenched into fists. I roared, "Wenshu, what the hell do you want?" Wenshu took out the pink gemstone ring she had recovered, looked at me as if possessed. A hint of hidden pain flashed in her eyes. "I want you to divorce her. Come back to me." Her attitude was no longer high and mighty. It could even be called humble. "I regret it, Huaichuan. I shouldn't have treated you like that before. Only now that I've truly lost you, do I understand how important you are to me. I really can't live without you. Can you come back to me? Consider it me begging you." I simply couldn't believe my eyes, looking at her in disbelief, stunned speechless for a moment. I had never seen Wenshu like this, even at her lowest moments. In my memories of her, she was always arrogant, looking down on everyone. The people who could make her bow her head were few and far between. I never thought there would be a day she would be this humble, begging a man she once utterly despised, begging for my pity, unfortunately. The moment I saw Song Shiyuan being tortured, the last bit of affection I had for Wenshu vanished completely. In the past, I loved her to the bone. My lifelong wish was nothing more than to stay by her side, to protect her peace and joy, giving up countless high-paying opportunities for her, willingly staying by her side, working as a nameless little assistant, managing the company for her, cleaning up her messes, from beginning to end. I didn't even hope for a title, I thought, even if just for the years of uncomplaining hardship. Working for the Wen Group, Wenshu would at least leave us some dignity. I never expected she would go to the extreme of kidnapping my wife and torturing her like this, completely crossing my bottom line. At this moment, in my eyes, Wenshu was completely sentenced to death. Opening my mouth again, my tone was cold, without a hint of warmth. "Wenshu, you truly make me sick." This sentence was like a blade, stabbing forcefully into Wenshu's heart and ripping out both skin and flesh. She felt so much pain, her whole body trembled. Her body seemed unable to hold itself up. She tried hard not to show a loss of composure. Raising the small knife in her hand, she slashed at the rope holding Song Shiyuan. "Since you won't come back to me, I will never allow you and this lowly woman to be together. Go to hell with me." She laughed cruelly. Her loose black hair hid her crazed expression. The movement of her hand became more forceful. Seeing the rope was about to snap, the next second, her back was hit with intense pain. I rushed up and kicked her to the ground. The force was so great it almost broke her ribs. Wenshu suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. A hoarse sob escaped her mouth. She watched helplessly as the man rescued Song Shiyuan. The two hugged each other tightly. The joy of regaining what was lost on my face was completely different from the cold, disgusted look just now, causing Wenshu's heart to sink to the bottom of the ocean. The sound of police sirens downstairs echoed through the sky. Police arrived at the scene one after another to deploy rescue. Looking at my calm and composed face, she finally understood that all struggles were futile. This man with his meticulous mind had long set up an inescapable net, just to ensure his own safety. The price was discarding her. At this moment, Wenshu felt complete despair. She dazedly opened her eyes, looking up at the gray sky, as if seeing her own dead-end future. Police rushed onto the rooftop, aiming guns and ordering her to hold her head and squat down. She turned her face, seeing me holding Song Shiyuan, backing away vigilantly step by step, as if she were a terrifying monster. That scene made her laugh in anger. Those eyes that used to be deep with affection, now only held hatred and bone-deep disgust. How meaningless. Wenshu thought to herself. She slowly stood up, stepped onto the edge of the rooftop under everyone's horrified gaze, and jumped down without hesitation. That beautiful, lovely face was smashed to deformity. Her body lay face up in an extremely twisted posture. She twitched a few times. After a few unwilling choking sounds, she stopped breathing completely. Before dying, she whispered in her heart, "Huaichuan, I hurt so much. Why haven't you come to hold me yet?" The second year after Wenshu died, the Wen Group fell apart and was divided up. The once glorious commercial ship completely sank into the waves of the era. She was buried in a small, lonely grave near the Wen Manor, covered in weeds, except for Father Gyu, who visited her every year. No one else remembered this once infinitely glorious eldest miss of the Wen family. As for me, I was thriving in city as business world, like a fish in water. After this kidnapping incident, the two elders of the Song family completely trusted me. They handed the Song Corporation over to me to manage, fully supporting me. I didn't let anyone down, step by step building my own business empire. In just a few years, my net worth multiplied several times. Just turning 30, I entered the top 10 of the world's billionaires list. In my free time, I would take Song Shiyuan, traveling everywhere, hand in hand with her, admiring the beautiful landscapes of our motherland, watching the snow in the north with her, sitting in a Jiangnan garden, drinking tea and watching the rain, hugging tightly amidst the gentle sea breeze. Finally, Song Shiyuan chose to work at the Qingbei University Research Institute thanks to her doctoral degree. Staying in City A as a university professor, her lectures were rich in references. The class atmosphere was always harmonious, always packed with students whenever I was free. I came to pick her up after class. We were a match in both talent and appearance, equal in looks, so we were called the model couple by many, making others endlessly envious. Today, as usual, I came to pick her up. This lesson was about the topic of love. Many students argued fiercely in class, arguing until their faces turned red. Song Xiuan just stood quietly by the side, with a gentle smile on her face, neither refuting nor agreeing. She always respected everyone's feelings and opinions like that. At this moment, a student suddenly saw me standing at the back of the class. He playfully winked at MS Song. MS Song, I heard that you and your husband have a very good relationship. May I ask what the secret to maintaining love is? Song Xiuan paused slightly. Meeting my smiling eyes, she said, if you love each other, you can overcome all difficulties. My heart fluttered slightly, naturally taking the handbag from her hand, interlacing my fingers with hers, walking home with her. MHM, let's go home.